I'm Jim Killock. I'm Executive Director of the Open Rights Group. So today we were at the Public Administration Select Committee and we were talking about government IT and exactly how badly run it is and why it is that so many projects have gone wrong in the past. And what we've seen in our work around the database state seminars is that government doesn't go to the people who are actually going to use the services or who are running the services. It's simply running a lot of big IT projects by ministerial diktat. People get a big idea, they think they've got some solution that will revolutionise public services or answer some deep political problem, and they expect big database problems to sort it out. But of course they don't. They're designed around very narrow, sometimes completely incorrect priorities. So things like ID cards were meant to help the state know who every citizen was and reduce crime, but actually it was just an enormous project causing a lot of public waste of resources and potentially intruding on lots of people's privacy. Similarly, Contact Point was meant to help people understand what was happening with children and who might be in danger, but it was actually just getting lots of lots of child care practitioners to put in lots of information into a database, and it wasn't really improving child care and child protection at all. So we came to talk a little bit about that, but also about how it is that government IT needs to open up to citizens. So things like open data, which can let us see what government is doing, and it can also help build our IT infrastructure by producing key data for us. Things like open source, which can help government control the intellectual property rights which it's actually paying for when it develops IT, and things like open standards, which mean that government can go to different IT companies and let them compete for the same sorts of services rather than getting locked into single products from single vendors. Of course, Org's perspective here is if the IT projects go wrong, then you end up with abuses of people's rights. It's not just a matter of wasting people's money, it affects our privacy and transparency of government. So it's a very fundamental issue for citizens.
Hello there, I'm Adam McGregor here from Rewired State and also co-founder or co-conspirator of NATO ID. So earlier on I was at the Parliament Select Committee, or the Public Administration Select Committee, which has a kind of investigation going on at the moment into how government and IT are working, or rather how they're not working. So kind of an interesting session. Had a nice discussion about open standards, open data, the need to include people that will actually be using the service from the start, taking sort of into consideration and building up from that way. We went off on to talking a bit about agile tech and how that can help government procurement, as well as looking at the infamous G-Cloud, the government cloud computing. A couple of interesting things, a couple of mentions from some of the Rewired State projects, which was really awesome, including Job Centre Pro Plus, all sorts of fun and games. Quite an interesting time, even if there was a bit of a tangent at some point, but hey, that's Parliament for you. So what did government get wrong with ID cards? Only interesting question, well, the whole thing. The answer was that they didn't know what the hell they were doing for the start. And they also based their design on the card and the database, rather than actually thinking, what do actually people want to use this card for? How will it be used? What's it actually going to solve? So there was the constant changing battle of the goalposts ever moving. Is it for benefit fraud? Is it for entitlements? Is it for immigration? Is it for crime and disorder? Is it for surveying citizens? Government had ID for every single problem that was barked at. This ID card was barked as a solution. You cannot devise a technology program or any program based on that sort of approach. It needs one clear defined mission from the start. That's what the government were doing wrong.